Good morning. My name is Karen Kong. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Canada, and welcome to my This or That Thursday. Although this week it's a little bit different. So normally I post 2 cards in my group for you to choose. 1 card for me to make Thursday mornings, but things have been really busy lately. I've been busy rhinestoning costumes and just haven't had the same amount of time to look at crafting and do some card making. So I did manage to make 1 card this week, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. It uses a whole bunch of different coloring techniques. So we're going to dive into that, and I'll show you how I made this card. So I'm just going to get my computer set up, so give me a minute to get that going so I can see your comments while we're crafting. I'd love it if you join in the conversation, chat with me, say hi, tell me where you're watching from. It's always nice to have company while we're crafting. So I'm not much of a conversationalist all by myself. Right, just getting this open. All right, so my computer's set up. Let me move my my camera over to my desktop, and you can watch what we're doing. So just close your eyes while I mount the camera on the phone holder. Okay, just a second. Here we go. All right, so this week's card was a huge mishmash of a whole bunch of sets. So you can see on the side here that I've pulled out 4 different sets that I'm working from. Good morning, Sandra. How are you? Yeah, so I'm working from 4 different sets. So I had the main set that I used is the Beach Days, but I did pull some sentiments from Attention Shoppers and the Sweet Songbirds. That's an old one that I pulled out. And then I wanted this kind of beachy shoreline, and I pulled that die from the Seaside Bay. So it's a mishmash today. I'm going to make some room, and let's start off with the card base first. We'll make that first and cut this, and then we'll work on all the stamping and the watercoloring that takes place in the middle. Okay, I'm just gonna make a little bit of room, and I'll show you how I made this. Oh, the family summer vacation. Yes, that is something that's also on my mind because of the changes to or the tensions with the our neighbors. We are reconsidering our vacation as well. Yeah, so that has also been taking up some time. Yeah. It's unfortunate. It really is. Okay, so I'm gonna bring in the card, the paper trimmer. My gosh, words today. I'm just making a little bit more room here. And what I'm going to do is cut the card base. So this is a square card that I cut. So the final measurements are 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. So a little bit smaller because I wanted it to be like a little note card. I am going to use this for somebody soon. So anyways, I wanted it to be a cute little card. So it's Crumb Cake that I used on the bottom for the base. And I'm just going to cut a 4 1/4 piece here. And trim it down to 8 1/2. Oh, I'm gonna have to bring out the arm. Let's move this card out of the way. Yes, my brain's not working. It is 8 1/2 already. This is reality crafting. Clearly the coffee has not made it to my brain yet. So I'm going to score it at 4 1/2, 4 1/4, halfway. Okay. So let's fold that, and we'll just burnish that fold with a bone folder. Okay. So when I created the card first, I actually cut this separately, but the blue piece on top, which is pool party, and then I matched it up, which was I realized after the fact that it would be easier just to cut the pool party in a square, attach to the front, and then cut it. So that's what I'm going to do this time. So I will cut a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece of pool party, and we'll put it on the front, and then we'll do our die cutting with the shoreline die. We'll bring in the pool party, and if you're watching for the first time, I do post all the measurements and the products and the colors in my video description once we're done. So don't worry about writing everything down. I will give you that. So just enjoy and watch if you're watching live. 4 1/4. I just need to get my scoring blade out of the way. 4 1/4. Okay, so let's put that on the front of the card. I'm just going to use, I think, because I'm going to be die cutting this, I haven't decided, I'm going to put stamp and seal so that it's not wet. We can cut it right away. Okay. So I did put that strip of adhesive a little higher up because I know that I'm going to be cutting this bottom section off and I want that edge to stay flat. So we'll probably be cutting through the adhesive here. So just bring back the card to show you. So I just wanted to tell you, I was aiming for this bottom of the card to look like a shoreline. So I have water, and then, like, you know how when the waves hit the shore, there's kind of that foamy white bubbling that happens. So I sponged on white here to make it look like that. And then down here would be the sand. So I haven't done anything to the inside of the card yet. I was debating whether or not to put some speckling here to make it look more like sand, but this is the way the card looks for now. But that was my original idea. So we'll cut the shoreline now. I'll bring in my cut and emboss machine. Okay, so I'm gonna lay this out, and this time I'm gonna be careful to put the whole sheet on this section. I'm not sure what exactly I did last time, but I only put the plate, the top plate, on part of my card, and part of it was hanging off, and that created a bend in my paper. So I can't remember exactly what I did, but I'm going to be careful this time not to do that, so that we don't end up with well, we'll do our best, because what happens is that I need to put this down like this, down here, and it's just at the end, so I think I'm going to have to extend it because I cannot put it right to the end here. So hopefully we won't get that bend in the paper like we did last time. Okay, so I'm just lining it up with the bottom here of the paper, kind of straight. It doesn't really matter because I guess it's shoreline, but I don't want it to be too far off course. And then I'm going to lay this flat on top. Okay. And I'm just going to adjust this slightly. There we go. All right, now it's straight. So now I can push this through, and it's going to make that really loud snapping noise because it's going right underneath the rollers, the whole die. So there we go. Okay. Let's see how that turned out. Oh, good. Well, there's a little bit of a bend in the back of the card here. That's okay. Not too visible. All right. I'm going to take this away. make some room. Bring it back later. Okay, so there's my edge. I really like that effect. And what I'm going to do is get a piece of scrap paper. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to sponge white on it. Okay, so I don't have a chance to use my white ink pad very often, so it was kind of nice to bring this out and bring out a sponge dauber. Okay, so that just goes right on my finger. And I'm just patting on here, and then I'm just going to lightly pat on the edge here to give it that, like it's like the white foam on the edge of the waves. I haven't used my sponge daubers in ages, so when I was done the card, I was amazed at how many different techniques I pulled in to use to add color to this card, and thought this will make for a long live today. So do you guys ever use the white for other things? I find that I don't stamp with white very often at all. I prefer getting out my Versamark and embossing in white rather than stamping in white. So yeah, it's been a while since I've pulled out my white ink pad. Okay, is that white enough? I think a little bit more on the edges. It's kind of a subtle effect, I guess, eh? Not too dark. All right, I think that looks good. Yeah, all right, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna put this aside, and we can do some watercoloring next, I think. So let me just get this out of the way, and we will talk about watercoloring. So I'm going to be using watercolor paper for this, which is different from regular basic white because it absorbs the ink. And this is really not a messy project, and I'm kind of one to avoid messy crafting. Like I laugh I think of it when I'm thinking about what my desk looks like, but really I am aiming to be neater. I don't like using a lot of like powders or pastes and sparkles and no glitter if I can help it, because it's not as easy to clean up. So, but watercoloring is actually very, very easy to clean up. Okay, so what I did was I watercolored green onto the watercolor paper, and I did crumb cake as well for the trunks of the trees, and I used the same watercolored paper for my grass. Okay, so let's do that. I've got a watercolor painter, which is just basically a paintbrush filled with water. And I'm just going to grab a paper towel that's to clean it off. Super easy for cleaning. And I'm going to need my Granny Apple green, which is the green that I used for this. So yeah, Sandra, I'm with you. Like, I don't use my white ink pad hardly ever at all. Okay, so there's a few ways you can get your ink onto a surface that you can use your water painter on. So one way is to simply squeeze your ink pad. Okay, press the ink pad into the lid, and then you have some right here. Okay, so you can pick up your ink from here, or I have seen some people take their block and they will just dab it on the edge of the ink pad, and that will be their surface that they will pick up their ink from as well. So I'll show you both ways. It's pretty easy. So I've already pressed it in here, and I'm just going to take my water painter and just pick up some green, and I'm just going to paint a section of my watercolor paper, enough to die cut my tree leaves and the grass. Okay, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a layer, and I'm going to add a little bit more color here and there. Really, there's no rhyme or reason for where or how you paint it. You just want variations in the color. Let me just put a little bit more on, and then to expedite the process, because you do want it, if you want more layers of darker green and stuff, you need it to dry so you can add more, because if you just keep adding water, it'll just keep diluting it and making the paper wetter and wetter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to bring in my heat gun, and I'm just going to use it to dry my paper. Okay, just a second. Okay, if you don't have a heat gun, you can just let it sit and dry before you add your next layer. Okay, so now it's mostly dry, and I'm going to take the I'm going to take my block this time, and I'm just going to put the edge of it onto my ink pad. Okay, you see how there's ink there, and we'll just use that to pick up our ink. Okay, there's another way you can do this if you don't want to use your ink pad for whatever reason. You can also take your re-inking bottle, if you have a re-inker, and just put a drop onto your block, and that's another way you can pick up ink with your, set out the ink for your water painter. Okay, so you see how there's like, I'm going to squeeze out a little bit more water to spread out the ink a bit more. Okay, so I think that will be a big enough area for my trees and grass. So now to clean my water painter, let me close up my ink pad now. All you need to do is squeeze it so that the water comes out a little bit, and then you just wipe it on a paper towel. And because it's a water-based ink, it will just wipe off, and that's all there is to it. Super easy to clean that up. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe this off so that I don't ink myself by accident. Okay, and I also have Crumb Cake in here. I used Crumb Cake for the tree trunks. So let me bring in my Crumb Cake, and I'll just do it right in the ink pad, because I feel like it's just no cleaning up required, but some of you may feel differently. You don't want to have this in your lid, and that's fine. You can just put it right onto your block instead. Okay, so this one, okay, good, I got some. I was having a harder time getting the ink into the ink cover. Okay, so I need a long section to put the little tree trunks in, so I'm just going to do it this way. Just adding, this one's pretty light, so I'm going to do this in 2 layers. So I'm going to dry up my paper, and then we'll do another layer to darken it. So you'll see there's lots of variation in the paint there, and that'll give you depth in the die cuts when you go to die cut them. But you do want the paper to be dry, because you don't want it to tear when it is die cut. Okay, I'm just going to pick up more Crumb Cake and add another layer to make it darker. Okay. And I think that's all we need. So I'm going to just dry that up, and then we will move on to die cutting that. Oh, you know what? I do have one more area to do. So I just remembered. So this sandy area that I built up, it's I originally was just thinking it was just my watercolor paper, but I actually did color this. So I gave it a light wash of Crumb Cake. So I'm going to do that, I think on this edge, because I need to die cut a half circle piece out of that. Okay, so I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to need the Crumb Cake again. Whoops. Okay, so I need to press that so I can get the ink onto the cover. All right. So I'm going to do it this way this time. So I'm not pressing the water out as I every single time. I only press it when I find that the brush is getting dry, and it just depends, I guess, personal preference too, if you want it more watery or lighter. But generally I don't press the water in my water painter. So that I'm going to dry because I want it just a light layer, I think. And actually I'm going to spread that out a little bit more. But I don't think I want a harsh edge on that. Okay, so that's just a wash. It's just going to give some depth to our sand. Okay. I'm just, when I'm wiping it off, I am squeezing for a little bit of water to help get the color off of the brush tip. Okay, so let's dry all of this up. Make sure it's all dry so that we can get clean cuts when we die cut it. Let's bring the cut and emboss machine back in. I'm going to need to make a little bit of room. And I'm going to grab my dies so that we can cut these little pieces out. So here's my tree trunks. Just one, I'll have to cut one at a time, but the leaves I can cut two at a time. So I'm going to need 2 trees, so I'm going to need a couple sets. Oh, I just realized that I probably don't have a big enough area for 2 sets of leaves. We'll see. We'll see if I can squish it in. And I want them that close. I have had the problem of my dies shifting and then cutting into each other by accident because they get layered on top of each other by accident. Let's see. I'm going to put this one this way and hopefully we can fit something in between afterwards. Okay, so, and I have grass. Here's my grass. I wonder if I can fit that in right here. You know what? I'm going to play it safe and do it afterwards. think that's it for the watercolor pieces, so let's cut those out. I really love this watercoloring technique because it really does add depth to the die cut pieces. And it's a great way to vary the darkness of your color as well. Where did my little tree trunk go? Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's the tree trunk. And there's a little bit of a line here, but you know, if you don't like that, you can always like use your water painter and just kind of add a little bit of water and smooth it out. Let me put that aside. And let's grab the tree leaves. Here's one. The other one's over here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The variation, even with like little white areas, adds to the charm, I think, the look. Okay, so let's cut one more tree trunk out of here. And I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that we can get both the leaves into here somehow. But I may have to cut or color another section. Yeah, I don't think I can fit. I don't think there's a way for me to... Oh, wait a second. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think so. No, I don't think that's going to work. I'm going to have to cut it this way. And then cut one more, or color one more area. Yeah. Okay, so I miscalculated because I forgot I was doing 2 trees and not just one. Alright, so let's cut that out first and then we'll take care of coloring again. Oops, I can see my leaf moved. So lots of people use washi tape or post-it notes to secure their dies so they don't move. And I don't do that because my particular machine is, it's quite tight between the rollers, and I find that if I put washi tape or post-it notes to hold it down, if I'm not careful. In this case, actually, it would be fine because it would be outside of the die cut area, but I would find that I have dent marks from the tape in my paper, so I have to be careful about where I put them. See, look how pretty that is. There's like light green, dark green in different areas of the leaves. Okay. Okay, so let's move this out of the way because I do need to get paint a little bit more. All right, so back to the Granny Apple Green. Quickly do this. Oh, I'm going to have to press it a little bit harder. There we go. Looking for my water painter now. What did I do with it? Oh, here. Okay, we're good. So let's do this again. I just need one more tree leaf. I think I can get it out of this one section here, maybe a little bit bigger. Okay. I think that's probably dark enough, actually, that one little area, so I'm not going to bother doing it twice. I'm just going to dry it and we'll cut it. before we cut the half circle here that I made the sand out of, I actually speckled it to give it a little bit more sandy, grainy look. So what I did was I took a Stampin' Up! Lens marker, and I'm just going to take the brush tip and I'm going to flick it across this area, okay? So what I'm going to do is this. So I'm just going to take the brush tip, I'm going to put it inside the lid, and I'm just going to flick it, okay? So I'm just pressing it into the lid and spraying a little bit of dots. Do you see that? I actually think I used the dark crumb cake, so I'm going to bring that in as well. Okay, so that it'll look. Oh, there we go. You don't have to press too hard, depending on how juicy the marker is, but this one came out quite dark. I think I'm going to put a little bit more this way. So this one has more speckling than that one. We'll see how that looks. All right, before we bring back the cut and emboss machine, I'm going to stamp the other pieces that we need cut out as well. So there's a little, the little chair here, and some seagulls. So let's get the Memento Black, and I'm gonna grab my seagulls and the chair. Here we go. So let's put the chair onto a block. And my seagull. All right. Yeah, the sandcastle's pretty cute, isn't it? I really like it. Okay, so let's stamp this in black, and then we'll color it afterwards in Poppy Parade lens marker. So I'm just going to stamp this right here. And I'm going to get 2 seagulls. Right. And let's get the Poppy Parade to color this in. So I just put a little tiny bit of shading on the chair. So this is the dark. I'm just going to take the dark. I'm just going to add a little bit of shading to the underside here. Okay. And we'll blend that in with the light. It's best to do it when it's still fresh, because then it's easier when it's wet to blend the 2 shades together. And I try not to color on top of the ink too much. It's not supposed to smear or bleed that much, but I do find that if you go heavy on the coloring that it does bleed. So I try not to go over the black line if I can help it. Okay, so those are ready for die cutting as well. So cut and emboss machine back over. Let's bring that back in. Okay, so one more set of leaves, and hopefully the grass will fit. I just realized I never cut the grass. Ha! Cut the grass. Not like in the traditional sense, but die cut it. Just trying to get my die out of the magnetic bowl. It's stuck there. Okay, good. All right, perfect. I have enough room for that. And let's get these die cut as well. Okay, so here's the little chair. Yes, Sandra, I have to say that I have been going through Pool Party a lot in the last few months for Christmas and for the wildflower birthday DSP because it matches it, and then for the beach day. So it has been, yes, it has been in good use. Okay. All right, let's hope I don't move any of that before I put the plate down. I did switch Pool Party for Balmy Blue on one of the recent cards, and that worked out well too. Excuse me. Okay, let's pull these out. And I just need to cut out my second bird. Look how cute he is. Sorry, I'm off I just realized that I'm pulling them off the screen. And you can't see, but they are really cute. Here we go. With these small dies, I always find like my fingers kind of not stick to them, but you know when you release, they move them. Oh. Having trouble today. Reality crafting. All right. Nope. I can see from my angle that it's not. Okay, that's good enough. I'm not gonna leave it. I'm not gonna touch it anymore. I think it's time to flip this this plate too. Perhaps it's a little bit warped, slightly warped. All right, there we go. Almost done all the die cutting. There's a lot of die cutting in this one. Okay, so the last bit is to cut the circles. So I have a circle here that it all centers on, and plus I use the circle to cut out these sections of sand. Okay, here we go. Let's flip this over and use the other side. Actually, I'm going to flip it around this way too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this section out. I didn't measure it, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. It's just a section of sand, so it needs to be exact. Okay, so I did get a curvy edge, and that comes from the beach day dies. I will get that out next. Here we go. So here's the edge. So what I'm going to say is that you got to be careful. This edge doesn't cut, but if you go through the paper, if you put it through the die cutter like this, I believe you're going to end up with a line right there. So what I do is I turn it around so that I cut the top edge off and I don't end up with that line there. Okay, so I'm just going to cut a small section, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to die cut it again to get that little background hump. Okay, so I just cut this twice. So let's cut it the first time. Actually, I wonder if I can just do this. What I'm going to do is die cut a bigger section and maybe it'll just slide behind, because I was just using scraps when I was creating that little hump, because I felt like it looked too bare without the extra sand like behind it. So I was using scraps that I had, and I believe that's how I ended up with the second hump. But let's see how we can do it this way. All right, let's cut this. So there you can see my sand is now wavy looking. I'm going to take this leftover piece and I'll flip it around. See if I can just put this behind here. Yeah. Yeah, we just want to make some variation in the sand here. So what I think I'll do is I'll just take this piece and add it on. I'm just going to glue it right behind here and I'll snip it. I'm just going to compare how much of the sand I'm covering. Sorry, how much of the top I'm covering. So I think what I'm going to do is bring this down a little bit because it's covering up more than I did last time, and I need that space for my trees and my sentiment. So let's cut a little bit more. This card required a lot of playing around and trying things and seeing if it worked or not. Okay, so let's take that piece away. All right. I'm just going to go back and I'm going to attach this behind my first set of sand, and we'll just trim that off, okay? So I'm just going to add, I'm just thinking about where to add my glue. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add it right to the edge here behind. You don't need a lot. It's a pretty light, skinny piece of paper, so you don't need a lot of glue to adhere that. So I'm just going to take this and just kind of line it up behind there. Okay, so then you can't see the edges, and I'm just going to trim this edge off. There. Okay, so I'm going to just stamp on my little sandcastles. Okay, and we'll add some depth to it by using the blends brush. Just looking for my black ink. There we go. All right, so I'm going to put it in the bottom right corner here. Okay, and I'm going to take my lens marker. I'm going to use the light, I believe. Let's use the light. Actually, I'm going to use the small fine tip and just color in some areas to add some shading and depth. Anywhere where there might be a shadow. And I use the lines as a guide to just add shading there as well. So I'm going to add shading on the top of this one and in the windows. And then just kind of along the bottom. And that's it. All right. Oh, I did have one more to do. I forgot that I needed this circle right here to anchor everything. So let's bring in my paper and cut the emboss machine one more time. It's amazing, one little note card and how many techniques and die cuts I use to create it, and you wouldn't know it, I think, if you weren't a paper crafter. But it's fun to assemble all these little pieces. Okay, so let's cut this white. I just have white scrap that I grabbed from, I have a scrap bin of all my white, and I just grabbed these pieces from them instead of cutting new pieces. Oh, hang on. I can just see this is too angled and it's going to start, it'll just get squished into the side of the cut and emboss machine. There we go. All right, so we've done watercoloring, we've done blends, marker coloring, and spattering of the sand, and I am going to add blending now. So let's take Pool Party to match the paper. And I'm going to use a blends brush. Oh, I need some scrap. So I'm just going to tap off here. Just make sure I don't get like a big blob of ink in one particular spot by accident. I'm just going to add it in the background. It'll be the sky in the background, just so that the this little scene isn't so stark white. It looks more natural that way. Okay, so I'm just going to hold up my sand here, and I think that's probably good. I might go a little closer to the edges actually, so let's just continue adding a little bit more blue. Okay. That's good. All right, so I'll close this up and we'll start assembling. So I'm just going to use glue to adhere this. So I use my tweezers so I don't get glue all over my fingers, and to help me place things without getting my fingers in the way. There we go. Okay, let's add our trees. Oh, we gotta assemble our trees here. Okay, so the tree assembly, very, very easy. It's just 2 sets of leaves to stick together, and then I join it to the tree trunks. All right. So all I'm going to do is add a center dots of glue. I'm going to take this one and put it on top. So just angle it a little bit off from the middle so that you get a full tree, full looking tree. Okay, so this one, I think I'm going to put the one with the white sections underneath. Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to put it on top. Yeah. You really don't need a lot of glue. You don't want it squishing out. Yeah, this way. Whoops. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to go back to this way. Okay. And then I'm just going to put a little glue on the tops of these tree trunks, and we will attach it to the leaves. So just kind of centering them. There we go. All right. So now we'll finish assembling our little scenery here. So our trees will go approximately here, and I'm just kind of putting them into place, but I'm not going to glue them just yet because I want to stamp my sentiments, and I want to make sure that they are visible and they're not hidden by my tree leaves. And you know what? I'm going to spread out the green in the leaves right here, just so it's not so white. I'm just going to take my water painter, and I'm just going to wet it, the color here, and spread it. And that way it's not just stark white. Very easy fix. There. Okay, so that's not stark white anymore. All right, so I'm going to put this down as just as a guide, just to make sure that I place my sentiment correctly. And I took from the Songbirds, Sweet Songbirds, the A Little Note of Thanks. But what I wanted to do was I only wanted a little note of, and I was going to stamp thanks in a different font, slightly bigger, which I like. So I'm going to take this, grab my block. Second, I'm just taking off the previous stamps. Let's pick it up like this. And all I'm going to do is, because this is a straight line and the words are separate, it's going to be easy for me to just ink up the sections that I want. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the edge, and I'm just going to ink up a little note. And I'm watching carefully because I don't think I got the bottom there. There we go. Okay, so now those words are inked up, and I'm going to ink up on the side edge of. Okay, can you see that? It's just those words that are inked up. And I'm going to place it around here. Okay, so I'm just going to move my tree a little bit out of the way now that I know approximately where I want to put it. There, so now I just have those words. And I'm going to bring in Poppy Parade for the last color for the word thanks, which comes from the Attention Shoppers set. Oops, I have some ink there. Hang on. I'm just using my chamois here to clean up my stamps as I go. And let's pick this up. Ink it up. There. So now the word thanks pops, and you can see it right away when you look at the card front. All right, time to put on the trees and the grass. So I think I'm going to put this one behind and this one in front. Okay, so I'm just going to put some glue behind the tree trunk and maybe some of the leaves on that side. So I'm just keeping track that I want glue there. Okay, again, I'm not using lots of glue so that it doesn't end up squishing out onto my scenery. Okay. And again here, I'm going to be placing my tree down, and I'm just kind of seeing that my glue, where my glue is going to go. Oh, and I think this one also. Okay, so put it here. Okay, I have a little bit of glue on my table. Just give me a second. I'll grab a, I should have used my silicone mat, but actually I'm using my silicone mat for other crafting purposes, using it for my rhinestoning, so it's come in handy there because those rhinestone applicators are so hot. Okay, so let's put on the grass here, right? Let's put some grass there. Actually, I'm going to put the little chair on first because the grass will go on top. Okay. So I'm going to use a glue dot because it is on top of a couple layers of paper. So I'm going to raise up the back, on the back of the chair. And really, I don't need much more adhesive than that dot because that's really strong. But I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom just to make sure they stay flat. The little chair legs don't lift up. They aren't likely to, but just a tiny bit of glue. Okay. All right, and I'm just going to put some glue on the bottom of the grass. All right, so I'm going to save the birds for after I place it onto my cardstock and my card base, okay? Just so I can position them properly. I'm going to use dimensionals to raise this up. I thought about putting some ribbon on, but I think I just going to leave it clean. It could possibly use some twine or something, but I'm going to leave mine. Well, I have a little tiny black smudge there, probably from my fingers, and this will be perfect to cover that up. So I'm just centering it, making sure my leaves aren't sticking out the top. Yeah, that works. Okay, bring back my birds. So my little birds, I like to lay it out again before I stick it on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this guy here and here perhaps. a little bit of glue. I'm just being mindful that I am going to have the right side hanging off the edge of the circle, so I didn't put any glue there. Probably put a little bit more glue, but it's fine, I think. So I'm just going to put this guy a little higher. And we will glue this one on. And that is our card today. So a little bit longer. Aw, Sandra says she can almost hear the sounds of the ocean with this card. It is, I really love it. It's so cute. Like, it's a little card, and it took a lot of different coloring techniques to get this done. But it's just so cute. I really love this card, and I am giving this away. I do have an intended recipient. And I hope they really like it. I think I'm going to put some white inside afterwards, and we'll see how that looks to finish it off for my writing. And that is the card. It's very clean, but if you wanted, you know, you can always add some gems or whatever, but I like keeping it clean. And I hope you enjoyed learning about all the coloring techniques today. Just a little smattering of all of them, mostly the watercoloring, but I hope you enjoyed that and that you're inspired to make a card like this with your stash. Use what you have. Mishmash of everything to make everything work, right? And that's the value of having several different stamp sets in your stash. So enjoy, and hopefully I will see you again next week. We'll see how things go, but I do anticipate I'll have to cancel some of my April and May sessions because we do have 4 competitions coming up, dance competitions, so I will be away those days, and we'll see if we can finish some crafting for a little break, okay? So have a great week, guys, and hope to see you again next week. Bye!